Imagine standing before a structure that defies every law of physics you've ever known. It is a cathedral, but it wasn't built with stone, it was grown. Its pillars are made of calcified bone, and its spires reach toward a sky that hasn't seen a sun in 1,000 years. This is the world of Zdzisław Beksiński. He didn't give his paintings titles. He didn't offer explanations. He famously claimed that his works were simply photographs of a place he visited in his mind. But as we look at his Cathedral of Skulls, we are forced to ask a question that professional art critics find deeply uncomfortable. What if this isn't a metaphor? What if Beksiński wasn't painting a dream, but documenting a location? A portal to an other place that exists just behind the veil of our own reality. By the end of this video, I will reveal a hidden detail in the light of this painting, a detail that suggests Zdzisław Beksiński wasn't looking at a dead world, but a world that is very much alive. To understand the macabre rationale of this work, we must treat the canvas as a crime scene. We aren't looking for a killer, we are looking for the laws of a lost civilization. Beksiński's cathedral is a masterpiece of what we call biological architecture. Look at the texture of the walls. It isn't smooth, it's porous, fibrous. It looks like the interior of a dried-out lung or a microscopic view of bone marrow. In this world, everything is porous. The air itself feels heavy, filled with the dust of 1 billion years. Beksiński uses a monochromatic palette, shades of rust, ochre, and dried blood. He doesn't paint objects, he paints atmospheres. Notice how there are no sharp edges. Everything is melting, fusing, or eroding. It creates a sensory discomfort because our brains expect architecture to be solid and biology to be soft. Here, they are the same thing. This is the first level of the uncanny, the fusion of the organic and the inanimate. Beksiński was a man of few words and profound tragedies. He lived through the aftermath of World War II in Poland, a landscape that had been turned into a graveyard. But he insisted his art had no meaning. "I cannot say what it means," he said. "I just see it." This brings us to a terrifying philosophical crossroads. If there is no meaning, then what we see is a literal depiction. The Cathedral of Skulls is built from the remains of the many. In a traditional church, we find peace. In this place, we find the scale of erasure. It is a monument to the idea that eventually everything, our history, our bodies, our cathedrals, becomes the same mineral dust. His works often trigger a visceral reaction. It is a feeling of insignificance. You aren't looking at a painting, you are looking at a future that has already happened. It is the end of time rendered with the precision of a high-definition photograph. However, there is a piece of evidence that resets our tension. Critics often label Beksiński as a Gothic or horror artist. They say he was obsessed with death. But Beksiński himself found his paintings amusing. He often laughed when people found them disturbing. He claimed there was a hidden optimism in his work. How can a cathedral made of skulls be optimistic? Look at the light source. In this painting, the light doesn't come from above. It doesn't come from a god. It comes from within the structures. If you look at the tiny crevices between the bones, there is a faint incandescent glow. This contradicts the death narrative. If this were a dead world, there would be no heat, no light. This glow suggests that this impossible architecture is alive. It is a portal to a dimension where consciousness has survived the death of the planet, shifting from flesh into stone. This isn't a tomb, it's a cocoon. It's a transition we aren't yet meant to understand. This is where we challenge the academic logical view. Institutions want to categorize Beksiński as a surrealist, but surrealism is often a puzzle. Beksiński's work is an environment. In philosophy, we might call this ontological horror, the fear that the very nature of reality is not what we think. Beksiński's nightmares are so effective because they use a macabre rationale. The shadows follow the rules of light. The perspective is perfect. The textures are hyper-realistic. He uses the tools of reality to depict the impossible. This is why it feels like a photograph. It tricks the skeptical mind into believing that this portal is real. It's as if he found a way to take a camera into a dimension that only opens when we stop looking with our eyes and start looking with our trauma. The final disclosure I promised is in the center of the cathedral. If you look at the way the bones are woven together, they form a pattern that mirrors the neural pathways of the human brain. The portal isn't in Poland, and it isn't in another galaxy. The portal is inside the observer. The nightmare Beksiński photographed is the architecture of our own deepest fears, rendered in bone and rust. He didn't paint death. He painted the persistence of the soul in a world that has forgotten what it means to be human. As you return to your world tonight, I leave you with this. If you could step through that canvas, would you find an ending or a new beginning? And why is it that we feel more at home in these ruins than we do in the bright light of the day? Let's discuss the philosophy of the void in the comments. Is Beksiński a whistleblower for an alternate reality, or did he simply see the truth we are all too afraid to admit? I'll be there to read your theories.